Good morning, Brother Carson Small. This is Captain Pyle having our interview with Brother Carson Small today, Wednesday the 9th of March 2011. Brother Carson Small, can you please tell us a little about yourself and your family?
I was born in 1942, August 29th to be exact, in a little country district by the name of Spring Farm in the parish of St. Thomas. I'm one of 8 children. 5 of the 8 are alive. The other 3, our general of generals, he decided to take them back home. And I was privileged to go to school, always suffered impaired vision. And at the time of doing this interview, I had no sight at all. My only hope to date is a miracle which I believe in. The Hillby Mixed School, nicknamed Airy Cock because it was constructed in a very airy, windy area. I received my first education there under the headship of a guy called F.A. Skeet, deceased of course. And in 1952, I moved to St. James, Seaview, St. James to be exact, where I'm still living with my father and mother both gone. I sort of live alone to a point. And my education continued in 52 at the St. Thomas Church Boys Anglican Church School. Most schools were Anglican. I left school around 60, I would say 59, 60. But my conversion as far as the Salvation Army is concerned, that started I think in 58 under the leadership of, I think her first name was Edith Armstrong, a Jamaican. I remember it very well. Sunday night I went to the army meeting. I was attending meetings backward and forward, but that Sunday night is when I went to an old-fashioned altar which is still standing, and then to give my life to Christ. And that is where and when my official army stint started.
Brother Carson Small, we have heard about your conversion, and now we want to go further now in your affiliation with the Salvation Army. Share with us some of the ways in which you have served your community over the years, especially in the region of the distribution of clothes in your community, etc.
My life of community work officially commenced by becoming a soldier in the Salvation Army through the Seaview Corps, St. James, Barbados. I always had a love for community work, but joining the army, this was amplified, extended, and you name it, I have done it as far as community work is concerned. From bathing old people, collecting their old age pension. There was a time when I had 16 pension cards, old age pension cards, in my possession. The recipients of those cards would never see them. When they wanted changing, I would take them to the welfare department in the parish, got them changed. Every Thursday morning I would go to the post office, stand in line, collect those pensions, and then go across at the super center, which is still standing, shop for some of them, put a large card box of groceries on my shoulder and walk to Seaview and hand out those groceries as I get from pensioner to pensioner. The clothing area came in later in life when I saw the necessity of accepting used garments and other gadgets, including refrigerators, furnishing, etc., and would pass them out to recipients. And this has continued to this very day. As we were doing the interview, I've got now at my place a refrigerator, used garments to be distributed over the weekend, and you name it. Thanks be to God, I entered radio in 1974, and that was tremendous in many ways because it gave me the opportunity to advertise the Salvation Army, which I always promised faithfully I would do from the time I came into radio. I said whatever little assistance I can give to the Salvation Army or the church in general, I will use that medium. And I'm glad to say that I never had any problems with management. They never even questioned what I was doing, because I've got my own program. There were 2 programs. One I was involved in, which is not on air now, but one which caters specifically for the disabled. And I use that as a medium to advertise the Salvation Army, advertise community groups, advertise the church, and there's no cost to that. So every week I would put in a little thing what people need. Recipients would call me, members of the disabled fraternity, the poor and the needy, and say, well, I want X.
Yes.
We don't call names, but they put these gathers out, and more often than not we get them.
And what days do you go on
this
kind of program?
This program
again?
is on every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. I record on Wednesdays, and I see it necessary to record because traffic today is so heavy.
Yeah.
I don't take the chance of asking people to come to do it live because very often they get there late, and as you would know, radio, television is time.
And that's on the gospel station.
This is on the what we call a secular station, VOB, Voice of Barbados, every Monday morning, 9:30.
Let's backtrack a bit. We know that you would have had affiliation with the radio, especially Radio Fusion. Tell us a little bit of your experience with the late Dame Olga Lopes-Seal.
Radio Fusion, for the younger listeners, came out of England. It was a little speaker, square-ish. Table model, and the one what we call the wall model, which you would find in the poorer homes because it costs a bit less, and the supermarkets, the then shops and so on. You would find them hanging on the wall. Even the schools carried them a larger size, I guess for the sake of volume, so they could stretch across the classroom and so on. And they were in the Caribbean. You had them in Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. That speaker was rented, and it carried one knob in the face, the bottom.
Yes.
You could only turn on and off. All the switching to different stations outside the Caribbean or Barbados came from the control. So that is what the box of itself looked like, the speaker. My affiliation with the August started around late 60s when she came to Barbados. From the then British Guyana to live, and it didn't take me long, but after hearing her on the air, to realize that this was a woman with a difference. She brought a program to Barbados called the Needy Children Fund, which I'm told had its birth in British Guyana, where she looked for the poorest section of society to assist children and adults alike. Hearing the program on radio, it was part of her daily program, which was called Woman's World, where you got as many tips as possible for the ladies, what to do, how to do it, and things like that. And there was always a section of that hour-long program slotted for the Needy Children Fund. I got a posse of youngsters together from my district because we had what was then the CVU youth group, which was housed in the Salvation Army. It was not a Salvation Army group, but I was given permission to use the Salvation Army Hall at CVU as our meeting place. And we hit the street doing house-to-house collection for the Needy Children Fund. And whatever money we collected, we took it to Olga, and that was our gift to that particular program. But our meeting became a life thing. I got fully involved in the program. Whatever was being done as part of the program is concerned, I will be notified, and as long as I had the time, I will be in on it. And that lasted until August death.
Amen. And that has been a force of encouragement for us as well. We know that she had a lot of inspirational poems inside the print media as well. And I'm sure your affiliation with her would have sent a message across Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean that we are still a driving force at this end in Barbados as well. And we move forward now to your leadership in your local area. We realize that you had great influence in your area with your close association with your distribution of clothes in the community. We want to hear now from your spiritual point of view in terms of your former position as Corps Sergeant Major, and in terms of how that challenged you, first of all, and then what responsibilities you had to undertake.
In 1961, under the leadership of Hickford Smith, I think he came from Antigua, and at the time of doing this interview he was still alive, retired because he had left the army and joined the Antiguan Defense Force. He was very, very ill recently, but under his leadership I became Corps Sergeant Major, and this happened very quickly. I don't remember the dates or the years exact, but I started I think in '61 as Corps Sergeant Major, and I was enrolled as a soldier I think in the late 50s, so I had very little breathing space to do it on my own. But it wasn't done on my own, of course, it was divine guidance. The Corps was a small Corps in my time and still remain small, but I'm told that the Seaview Corps has a tremendous history before my time, because at one time they had an outpost, and this outpost was in a district called Morgan, officially known as Greenwich. The district is still there, still bearing the same names, and I'm led to believe that the church at Seaview used to be full in those days, so much so they had this outpost, which was in the era of the late Brigadier Oliver Dad. I think when he took up his post here in Barbados as DC, it was either on its way out, outpost-wise, or had already gone, but it was more or less in his era. The challenge was a tremendous one for me because it was my first opportunity at that level to do something like that. But God always has someone, whether it be man or woman, for the occasion. And the small company of soldiers, the late Noreen Haywood, who was a driving force and who could have been deemed my lieutenant for want of a better term, she was always there, very faithful. She had other family members who, although not officially army members at that time, but they would always be there. It was a small Sunday school, and together with divine guidance we carried the army flag, and we were happy to do it. There were challenges, of course. Those were the days when we had the gas lamp, and you had to unwind it when the gas to put into it. It carried what we call a mantle. You lit the mantle, and while lighting that mantle and you accidentally touched it, that was the end of you and that, because it would break and you would have no more light. And I remember when the Home Leaguers met, my job was lighting the lamp, and some used to comically refer to me as Sister Small, because as you would know, the Home League is for ladies, or members of the female sex. And that was good. We had some wonderful programs. Harvest was a big, big thing in those days, when people would bring their stuff. The days of Cookman, the yams and potatoes and canes to decorate the windows and the doors, which has changed tremendously in recent years. Harvest today is more of a cash thing than vegetables. Of course, we don't grow as much vegetables in Barbados as we used to. But with God's help, we made it, and up to now, the Corps is still open, although it's not deemed a Corps these days because of lack in numbers. We are still very good and holding our own. And if I would like to backtrack a bit, the used garment thing is a big thing with me, because it's a weekly thing. Right now I have garments home to be delivered, and the folk will come and collect those between them on the weekend, and I get them almost every week.
And they go to which parishes in Barbados?
Well, this might interest you. We go as far as Christchurch. I've got people in Christchurch. As a matter of fact, St. Philip, there's a young lady with disability, sightless lady. She lives in St. Philip. She has 2 kids. She isn't working. And whenever I get her size, because what I do, with the assistance of one Corps member, Denise Davis, she's not a Salvationist, but she comes to all of our meetings.
League of Mercy member.
League of Mercy member. She has a list from me of the sizes. So when the stuff comes, I will arrange with her to meet me, and if we cannot meet, she has a key. She lets herself in, and with that list, she would parcel out who for what. And then I would get faithful volunteers, including John Coatress, who mans one of our corps in St. Philip. He would come and pick up hers and take it straight to her home. So the army has been spreading its wings far and wide. And I thank God for volunteers like John and Brother Ralph Worrell and others who I can call upon. And when they're doing their duties, they would fit me in and assist. And this is a tremendous help to the needy people.
And we realize that this is indeed part of the League of Mercy
Yes,
ministry.
it is.
And you can expand on that as we relate to even your men's fellowship. We realize there's some League of Mercy members who are in your men's fellowship. And we know that they're especially needed around the Christmas period. And you can expand on your League of Mercy aspect as well as the collection that you do throughout the year for the kettle and on Saturdays at Jordan's in Fitz Village.
The League of Mercy end was nothing new to me since I was brought up in an era where charity, I saw charity practiced by my late grandmother, and somehow I followed in her footsteps. And I'm happy to say this: I came along and found my grandmother giving. My grandmother lived at that time in Brighton, Blackrock, and people would come from all over Barbados. She lived very near to the beach, the Brandoms, which is very, very popular. And before some of the churches had what they now know as the baptism pools, Brandom was the place for baptism, a very nice beach. And both male and female would find my grandmother's house for one reason or other. I guess it was the spiritual God that guided them there. They would go and rinse off, and my grandmother would always have a meal for them. Some even slept there, not knowing them. Get up the following morning, have a bath and leave. And that is the kind of thing that I believe encouraged me, along with my conversion, to take charity work, community work, very, very serious. And it has become a part of my life, and I'm very, very serious about it. Giving. There was a time in my life last year, 210, when I gave away my whole salary a week. It is not the biggest in the world, but I gave it away. And I'm happy to say I never went to bed a night hungry, and I never suffered as a result. As a result, I was blessed. So when the League of Mercy came along, or when I was induced or encouraged to take up the League of Mercy serious, it was nothing new. And I enjoy my life as a League of Mercy member. The Corps has a few other members, it's Brother McCalling and Sister Dennis, as I mentioned before. They are the two more or less standing members along with myself, and together we do a tremendous job. Brother McCalling is a very handy person. He joined the faith late in years, age-wise. But he is a tremendous help to the Corps. He likes decorating, he likes the garden, and he would cook and take the members in the district. He would go and clean the interior or exterior of their houses, which we call scrub, mop, weed the yard, you name it. You can call upon him anytime. He would cook food or buy groceries of his small pension and take it as far afield as possible outside of the Seaview district, almost to Spikestown, to an old lady who he worked for in the past and an old gentleman. We have 1 or 2 cases in the Seaview whereby these recipients were ill and advanced in age, and Brother McCalling would make breakfast, he would cook and carry for them. I had a situation where I think it was my last trip overseas for the Salvation Army, when we went to our retreat in St. Lucia, and about hours before I left, the telephone rang, and there was a farmer or a colleague of mine who told me, "Carson, I need some help. You got to help me." I said, "Well, what's wrong?" There's this guy who used to work the same place I'm working. As I went in, he came out work-wise, the late Teddy Strawn. He lost his wife. He took it very, very hard, and added to that, he was sightless, not trained to use a cane, and he had a water problem, which she said she didn't know of after I found it out and told her about it. I took him, and the reason why I took him, because if Brother McCalling was not available, I couldn't take it. I mentioned the thing to Brother McCalling. I think as a matter, I think he was there when the phone rang. I explained to him the situation. He said, "Carson, you take him. I'm working in Seaview, and I will look after him until you come back." I went and spent the week in St. Lucia with the army, and when I came back, to use an old Bajan term, all hell had broken loose. But McCalling told me he went as far as to curse him in the hall. But being under the blood, Brother McCalling stuck to it, but I took over. But he didn't curse me, but he was a challenge, because he wouldn't use his hands, not being trained to use the cane. he kept on missing his room
Hmm.
and going into the wrong room. So he said the best thing to do is to close off these rooms and leave his room only accessible. That made it a bit easier. But of course he was wetting the floor, and I had to be finding the water with my bare feet, using the mop and detergents and so on, antiseptics to keep the room clean. That was a challenge, but with divine guidance I made it. And God moved in a mysterious way. Little did I know the few months he spent with me, because I had to put him in care eventually with the assistance of the government. We'll come to that in a minute. Little did I know that God was preparing me for a similar situation when I went to America that very year. I tried to visit my aunt, and she is physically ill. When I got there, she was doing almost the same thing. So God was preparing me to look after her when I got to the States. The assistance I got from government came through a friend, and the psychiatric hospital in recent years has become a cure for all, a help all in cases like those. I called the geriatric hospital, explained to them the situation. They sent me two members, one I knew. They interviewed me and they interviewed him, and they promised to assist. Well, of course we know in the Caribbean the wheels of government turn very slow. I didn't like the pace at which they were turning, so I called the psychiatric, and it's good to have friends in high places. I called a nurse friend of mine, I explained the situation. She said, Carson, I will come. She was to come less than today, and because of pressure of work she couldn't make it. Bright and early the following morning, they are still faithful civil servants. Phone rang, she apologized, she said, Carson, I'm coming there now. And before I could put the receiver down, she was there. She went into the bedroom, asked him a few questions. I was making breakfast for him. To this day, they had a chance to eat the breakfast. The next, she had him hustled out into her car, called the police and asked him my relationship with him. I went to the States. He grew worse. They took him into the QE, and he died in there. Got the call he had passed away. So that was one of the biggest things that I would say I had as a person with disability, because it was me alone. Yes, Brother McCollum continued to bring food for him and things like that, but living 24 hours with some person like that, that was my first thing. And it has prepared me for future cases, as in case.
Brother Carson Small, as today is Ash Wednesday and we are coming forward to the Easter season, can you reflect a little bit on the past and your music ministry, etc., and how it used to be as Salvationists, as Christians in Barbados as well? How was this celebrated?
Easter was always a big thing in Barbados, because we have been deemed over the year as a Christian community. I would like to believe that that statement still stands in spite of the challenges that we face overall as a country, and especially as Christians. Sunrise service on Easter morning was a big thing in the Salvation Army. Not a corps would be without the sunrise service. And we used to hold ours in our district on a little cricket basket, which is no longer used for cricket. It's overgrown because of many things. And sometimes you would march with the assistance of 2 drums back to the church and break up or whatever. But that was a very big thing. The Easter morning service, of course, was the number one, where we would meet at the given time and have our Easter service taken care of by the officer, whoever he or she was. And will take a moment out to say that if my memory serves me well, all of my years in the Salvation Army, up until, let's say, recently, I believe we had more female officers on Seaview than male officers. I'm not sure if it was because of the where we had more females in the army than male, but quite a number of female officers we have had at Seaview. And as I said, the Easter morning service, that was also very well attended. You would get a few people who were not Salvationists, and they would come in, of course, and like tradition in Barbados, Christmas, where you have a church full, the bigger churches, and you wouldn't see them again until probably a funeral or till next Christmas or so. But that is part of Bajan culture, where people would come to church on special occasions. My musical end, although I love doing instruments. I'm not a classroom teacher, and I always experience difficulty in sitting down to learn things. A lot of my community work and spiritual work came not by the way as by the way, but I moved from point A to point B, and I would learn this and I would learn that, not being able to see, to read as my vision went down.
Yes.
I always loved the mouth organ. It took me less than 1 day to learn to play the mouth organ.
Wow.
And I played a lot of mouth organ in my radio ministry in the early years, where we had a program called Children's Party Pageant of Youth, which was hosted by the same Dame Olga. And I did a lot of things in that program, and many people often wonder if it was a rehearsed act, but we never ever rehearsed. It was an hour-long program. It started live in the studio in the days of the late George Tudor, who was the #1 comedian in Barbados. And 4 years after he died, I was given the program, and it was brought about through community work. We have, as you know, in Barbados, our major festival is called Popover, where the celebration of the close of the cane crop is a very, very big thing. I was very much involved in that, in the resurrection of that, because I can remember about 2 times when it was sort of resurrected. The second one I was involved in, where we had people like Julian Marishaw from down the islands, and the late Frank Pardo, Joel Bannister, doing community work, and we were part of a committee set up at Trent St. James, the Meeting Point, the Trent's Community Centre. And our role was to plan activity for the St. James Parish, where I did most of my community work. And at the end of the celebration, which lasted a week or so, it would close at the Carson, where we have our horse racing, with a concert, a variety concert. I was invited to do a stint of comedy, which I loved and still love to this very day. So when I came off stage, Auntie Olga, she was affectionately known. She was in the audience, and she said, "Carson, I didn't know you were here until I heard you. Neither did I know that she was there." She liked what she heard. She said, "Well, you know, we never replaced George Tudor, and it's now 4 years since he is gone. I'm going to invite you to come to the studio on Saturday morning and do something with the children, and we'll see how it take off." Well, the rest is history. I went and I did my little thing, and glad to say the company did not lose its broadcast license, which meant that management liked it, and the listeners and the kids liked it. So from there, every Saturday morning I would go down. I always believe in punctuality. The program started at 9. I would catch the 6 o'clock bus. I had some aside then, get off by the then Plantations Limited and walk up to the station. And I was never late for my act, and that went on for years.
Very good.
Years after, Olga realized that if the program was recorded at schools during the normal 8-hour work day, it wouldn't cost the company anything as far as the engineers were concerned. So she cashed in on that opportunity, and we started to go to the schools. And I find that we got better, well, not better programs, because the studio programs live were noise free.
Okay.
And that was one of the hallmarks of rediffusion. If a program is done in the studio, whether it be broadcast live or recorded, perfection was important. But when you go to the schools or do an outside broadcast, although you try to get as close to perfection as possible, you cannot control certain noises. And there's certain noises that are accepted by the company. The natural noise of a car horn, as long as it's not too near, a cock crowing, a dog barking. If they're not too near, you can take those because you are not in the studio. And we went out to the schools, and the first school we did was a school called Society Mixed School. I can't remember the name of the principal, but I would love to pay a tribute to him. He's still alive because he did a tribute for Olga, but Society Mixed School was the very first school. And they were so good and became so good. And that principal has such an influence on those children. We could call him overnight and say, look, I want a program by 2 days from now. They were always ready. And those programs did a tremendous amount of good overall, the Children's Party program, in and out of the studio, for lots of the big names that we have in Barbados prize themselves on the Merry Men, because some of them might think were children of the Merry Men, and they later became spies. When they first came to us as a group under the Merry Boys, they had a few guitars and ordinary card boxes as their drums, and they have grown into international singers. Peter Allen, who is a broadcaster now, started with us, but she now worked for CBC. Carl Roberts, one of the leading broadcasters in the island. Wendy Allen, and the list goes on. And they had their birth at Children's Party. And it was sad to see it go, because it went with rediffusion. That was the end of that reign, but it has certainly done a lot of good in helping to sell Barbados through the many talented persons that came through Children's Party under the late Dame.
But Carson Small, in closing, what encouragement would you give for future Salvationists and friends of the Army as we seek to even look forward to a Congress 2012 next year across the Caribbean? What encouragement would you give us as Salvationists?
I would like to encourage all Salvationists, whether you remain in the Salvation Army or not, and I would love to know that you remain there. We can certainly do with your stewardship, your soldiership. Remain faithful to God.
Amen.
People over the years, including today, serve an organization. They worship a leader, and that can put that movement into trouble. It has done, and it will always do. The bottom line is to serve God, regardless of where you are serving. And you are in the Salvation Army. We would love to know that you remain in the Salvation Army. But we live in a real world. Things will happen. People, officers will come and officers will go, but the good old Army Hall building will remain there until hopefully the end of time. But my encouragement is to be faithful to your calling. You are called by God to be a soldier, either in or out of the Salvation Army. Because if you leave the Salvation Army and decide that you finish with that, church-wise, spiritually speaking, there is no other place you can end but a hell when you die. But if you remain faithful to God, whatever denomination you become affiliated with, as long as it is a denomination that stands for righteousness, that preach and teach the truth, that there is a hell to shun and a heaven to gain, we will all meet in glory. But if you are Salvationists, we would love to know that you remain in the Army. We love you, God loves you. We believe that God has called you to serve in the Salvation Army. You may have a tiff with the leaders. The views will differ. That is human. But remember, you're not serving the officer. You are serving God. And God has chosen you to serve Him in the Salvation Army. So I beg that you stay with us. But the bottom line is, be faithful to God. That's my encouragement to you. Amen.
You want to give us a little of your granny? Anything that you want to...
Okay, well, the Granny and George situation, which is still being done on our gospel station. And that is heard every Monday morning between 8:30 and 9. Let's say roughly around 8:45, because sometimes, depending on what program comes after me and what we have, because as you know, radio is money, the media is money. The time is important. It is not sponsored, so I have to take whatever time they give me. There were three main characters, or are three main characters in this Granny situation. Let me say were, because the now Granny situation, we hardly have time to play the other characters. Now it is mainly Granny, because when Granny get going, there's no room for anybody else. And in the era of the children's party, which I refer to, it was Granny, the old lady, George, the naughty boy, and of course, Dame Olga, the late Dame Olga, who was always the correcting officer in the positive manner. But George was always doing something naughty, and he would always be corrected by Olga, which is good for the children, the example, you know. She would never condone anything wrong. Granny was always going to destroy him with the old-fashioned chicken board or whatever, and Olga would be always there as a referee. And any other character that may just come by the way. And let me say here, those stints were never rehearsed. People wonder how he did it. But God is a good God, and He blesses people, and people have it to say that when you lose one, you get another one. But another sightless person said to me, when you lose one, you learn to depend on the other 4 more. And I would be driving in the vehicle going to a location to record the school's program, that program. I would smell a lawn just cut. A thought would kick in. A horse-drawn vehicle, they were with the official name in those days, which was a cart, horse cart, donkey cart, whatever would pass, something would kick in. A cock would crow while we were going. Something would kick in. More often than not, I would leave the station that morning with nothing at all in my mind prepared. When I first joined the company on that particular program, there was a lady, Joyce Holder, her name, which is now Joyce Biner, Papa Port from Carlton, the wife. And she would supply me with jokes. Every Saturday morning I would call her from the station and say, "My girl, what you have to offer today?" She would give me a joke. I would either stretch it or draw it up depending on what time I'm given. There came a time when Joyce was out of the island because she traveled tremendously. Brilliant girl as far as Australia she went. And she couldn't be reached. I said, well, the show must go on. Olga asked me if I ever tried doing voices. Up to that time I never. But I had to do something to keep the slot. So straight away, it would have to be God. It dawned upon me that why not try imitating an old lady, because I knew a lot about the old-fashioned life, and still do, because I spent a lot of time with an old guy who lived next door to me, and it was very helpful to him over the years until the Lord called him to glory. He became a Salvationist very, very late in life. But he would sit and talk about the life of yesteryear, so that helped me tremendously. And I started this imitation of the old lady. Then he said, well, why not try a grandson? So I tried a voice and nicknamed him George. The name George just popped into my mind. And any other person, sometimes a policeman would be handy, a neighbor, a sister from the old school. And that was enjoyed by many, many people. So the Granny situation that I do nowadays is Granny and Marissa, who is one of our broadcasters. And every Monday morning I will tune into the gospel station between 8:30 and 9, nearer to 8:45 than 8:30, because I think 8:30 is the weather. Well, 8:30 is the news, followed by the weather, and then you get this thing. And I must say it has remained very popular. People meet me and ask me about it. Why don't leave Marissa alone? Why don't Granny always humbugging Marissa? So if you are listening, you would hear something like this. Miss Marissa, how are you, child? But you look so sweet, though. Why you always wear black? You mean you only got one dress, or what? I hear your wardrobe so big it can't even shade. You said that is my business. I told malicious and malicious I like to know. But how we children do? Well, you ask me if I'm a doctor. You make your ask your future unless I'm a doctor. But regardless of what you say, I like you though. You look too sweet though. What you always got your hair doing one is laziness or what? You mean you can't take time to plait your hair in cornrow or put it in a different style? But Monday morning your hair plaiting one, you're too lazy, or what? You must learn to plan like me. I just get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got a list of prayer partners. We just hook up on prayer. You got to get work at 8 o'clock and let them home at 7:45 or something 8:05 to get work at 8 o'clock. Your friend like them somebody mark your door.
what I said, that I the traffic car always talking about how to drive and how not to drive, but I still like you though, and I like the way they dress. You always match it. Where get them multicolored shows from though? You man is shot for you, or you was shot for yourself. Or you was get your things from Auntie Olga, Boutique or Salvation Army. Well, you say you was first, the story was yourself. I tell some of you guys to come in Salvation Army, Auntie Olga Boutique, or Uncle Carson Boutique down city. You look down straight door. God bless you. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next Monday morning.
Thank you very much. We have just finished conducting the interview with Brother Carson Small, and we just want to thank him for the 30 years of service he has served in the Salvation Army as a League of Mercy member, and what he's going to continue to do in the future. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Ministry, and you keep the flag flying. Always remember the yellow, red, and maroon. You ready, eh? 2, 3, and 1.
in ease, leave my lost on Him, leaning on the everlasting earth, leaning, safe and secure from all harm, leaning on the everlasting earth, safe and secure from all harm, leaning on the everlasting earth.
Father and son lived in the house, and both of them had a weakness for alcohol. And every weekend they would go home drunk. Every weekend. So the father got sick and tired of the situation and decided to encourage or discourage his son to settle it. The father said to his son one weekend, "Son, let me tell you something. For the longest time, you and I were coming home fairly tight. And I think the time has come for us to come to a decision." The youngster said, "Pa, what decision?" He said, "Well, son, I would like to make you an offer. The house is becoming a bit small for the two of us. So would you choose what part of the house you would like to reside?" His son said, "Pa, the house is yours, and I think you should make the decision." He said, "Well, man said, son, that's a serious statement. I give you the choice." His son insists that the old man should make the decision. "But since I'm the oldest and you insist, this is my suggestion to you. You will take the outside, and I will take the inside." Problem solved. He will no longer trust us. This old man driving down a one-way street. What a God. And the police pull him over. Said, "Papi, you were like, what are you doing? You were driving on the wrong side. It's a one-way street." He says, "Well, officer, for your information, wherever I'm going, I'm very late. Because everybody else is coming behind." This talking about husbands now, you know. Don't blame me. The chairman started it talking about husbands. This guy married this woman and believed that his duty is to embarrass his wife. Awful thing. One afternoon he carried home a friend. The wife cooked cocoa. He served this cocoa. And this is the husband. "You see you? I tell you that I don't eat that food. And every now and then you always come around that food. I don't want no that food." I believe she was a Salvationist wife. So she opened. You youngsters would not know the half door. But years ago, we had half doors with a half door and a Pop in the way for show. And she go and she pop there on the half door. She start to sing, I am delivered, praise the Lord. He said, deliver, can deliver nothing but some licks in your stomach this evening. Man, she's singing. She ain't paying any money, man. She did one shit on by the car too. So she gone and she get in the car and gone to the supermarket. So when she got halfway down the road, she forget that she left the purse on the bureau. So she swing round, back at the road. In the meanwhile, he put the dish out in the yard behind. She bang it in. Like Rex dish. And the dish fuzz out in the yard. She turned and come back up, and when she opened the gate, her eyes and his met four. And he dumped on the all four scraping, separating the cuckoo. Separating the cuckoo from the jar. Guts no ring cassava, or you get nothing more. And when he look up and she said she this is embarrassed. She said, me do something, see? I ain't rigging up this to eat it. I rigging up to pass it further. I can afford to talk this about the Anglican Church because me and the Anglican people are very good friends. This old lady lived not too far from the Anglican Church, and she was a Pentecostal. I tell you all that Barbados is a great inventor, and the first pressure cooker came from Barbados. Let me get some history on that. This is why Captain Pyle really got to fight this bill, and let me get some payment. This old lady, these were the days when the butchers used to kill mutton on a Wednesday and pork on a Saturday. One of young people know what I'm talking about. Mutton soup. Brother McCall, what I'm talking about. Mutton soup on a Saturday. And black pudding and sauce and thing on a Saturday. The chicken, the mutton soup on Wednesday, sorry. The killing sheeps. Some boy say in sheeps. I look where it's his master, man. If I live to see next month, I'm going to be 69 years old, and I'm born in 5 sheep. You mean it's 10 sheep? You mean more sheep than born since then? Abraham has sheep, Lot has sheep, Egypt has sheep. It's 10 sheep? No, I got be sheep. You mean I got one sheep in the world? Got be sheep. Right. So sheep get killed and goats on a Wednesday. And the thing that bothers me, sheep is mutton and goats is mutton too. How do you arrive at that? Anyhow, that's their business. Sheep and goats dead on a Wednesday. You got belly soup. You take the sheep belly, you clean it up, and you boil soup. And the sheep head. I'm coming to learn now. Some of the numbers putting this up because I kill a pork. The only place in the world that's kill pork is Bajans. Everybody's kill pigs. Bajans different. Bajans is kill pork. You know be different? Be different. And the only nationality in the world you will hear think that this is Bajan, a boar hog. It's a boar pig. Sow hog, female pig. Fowl cock, the English call it a rooster. Salad duck, yard fowl, Bajan, that's Bajan. Alright. This one is not far from the Anglican Church. She was a Pentecostal. And she got one of these old-fashioned 3-foot pot. You all know about these fancy things nowadays, and no pressure cookers and all this sort of thing.
and for the fellowship here this afternoon for this historical event. We pray, O God, that this would have not been an ordinary rededication meeting, but it would have been a rededication of our lives as well. We pray a special blessing on the comrades here who will remain after we leave, that you'll continue to bind them together with cords that cannot be broken, and that this will stream through the various sections of the fort. We thank you for your goodness, your grace, and your mercies, and we pray for your continued blessings to come. In the name of Jesus, we pray for the power of your name. Amen. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee, and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee, and give thee peace forevermore. Amen.
Thank each and every one of you for coming and joining with us in celebrating the opening of this new